Before we begin tonight's show, episode 229 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by two sponsors. We welcome our new sponsor, BetUS. This is a fantastic sports betting and casino platform for all your big plays. BetUS offers up to 200 games per day and live betting, plus 300 to 400 different props to bet on. Use the promo code RACING3H, again, RACING3H, when signing up and receive a free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. Again, free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. Look in the description below the video player for the link. You must sign up. You must use, to sign up. Of course, we got the big game this Sunday. Check it out, BetUS, a fantastic betting platform. And also, Crowns Way Racing. This is a new syndicate for us. They're fantastic. Anthony Rallo is the managing partner of Crowns Way Racing. You can see his email right there below, right there on the screen. Also, their Twitter handle and their website, which I'm going to leave on the bottom of the screen. Feel free to write it down, or of course you can watch this later. It is https sites.google.com/view/crowns-way-racing. Again, I suggest you, if you're listening to this, you probably want to check out the YouTube channel for information. They have shares. Crowns Way Racing, starts shares at only $500. This is a great starting price. They have no monthly bills, a flat 10% commission rate, no maintenance or purchase fees. You get paddock and winner circles access when your horse wins. They scored at 17% in 2022. They have two fantastic trainers, Kelsey Danner and Carlos Silva. They're very clean. They do a great job with claiming horses and 2-year-olds. They race the Mid-Atlantic, Florida, Louisiana, and the Midwest. And some of their previous successes, the biggest success is a horse called Smokin' Jay, who was in the Jaipur last year, a grade 1. This is a fantastic horse that is a turf sprinter. They also have horses called Atago, who's also stakes place. So be a part of the next Crowns Way Star. Look below, again, the video player for information. It is only a $500 entrance fee. Highly recommend you check out Crowns Way Racing. And now, let's start episode 229 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 229 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got a very exciting show. It's Tampa Bay Derby Preview Day. It's the Sam F. Davis. It's a grade 3. There's points for the Kentucky Derby. Also, Wonder Wheel, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, is back in the 3-year-old race for the girls, the Suncoast Stakes. There's other stakes. It's a fantastic Pick 5 Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. Glad you could join us. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the corner of the screen. After you do that, smash that like button. We want 100 likes or more in this video, so please smash that like button. Great. Let's make it 200 likes. Why not? And then also hit that the notification bell as well. When you hit that notification bell, it will tell YouTube this is a great show for everyone to watch, and also tells you when new shows will be coming up. So hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. You can listen to this on a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor. The Power Picks. Wow. I mean, wow. Last week's Power Picks were huge. 12 to 1s, 7 to 2s. How about a $2,000 score in a pick 5? If you have not subscribed to the Power Picks, I'm telling you, don't take it from me. Take it from other people. Feel free to comment in the chat. If you belong to the Power Picks, please comment in the chat because we are rocking it out right now. Over $3 ROI this year. All the information is below the video player. It only costs you $4. That's it. $4 every Saturday. I don't know what you're waiting for. You are missing out completely if you are not looking to our Power Picks below the video player. Check those out, please. I believe that takes care. No, one more thing. Great website. Pete Visco runs a great website, and I'm going to bring him out in a second. I happened to look it over just to, look and see new things. Pete Visco has done a tremendous job with this website, guys. There's all information that you could possibly want, different menus. Check out our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. All right, now that I fumbled through half of the intro, it's been a long week. Let's bring on some co-hosts who are much more articulate than myself. First, from the great state of Maryland and the author of our wonderful podcast or online, our website, I should say, Pete Visco. Man, I'm just screwing this up all over the place. And from the fantastic Commonwealth of Massachusetts, fresh off the basketball court, off of a trip to Florida. This guy's just all over the place. But now he's with us finally tonight. We've got the one and only Paul Halloran. Fly, Eagles, fly, Paul. Are you ready for Sunday?
I am ready for Sunday. Yes, I am. I am rooting for the Eagles, and I have bet the Eagles several times already, and I'm not done yet.
As long as Dick Vermeil and the gang has the team ready and Randall Cunningham knows how to throw the rock, and Wilbur Montgomery. I'm sorry, I had a flashback to the 80s for all you old people like me out there. They've had some fun teams, haven't they, in the past?
They sure have. Herman Edwards.
Absolutely.
Bad memory for you Giants fans out there, but Herman Edwards. Yeah, it should be, hey, when you get a spread of 1.5, you're expecting a very good game, right? We've seen a lot of blowouts, but typically the line maybe indicates that you're going to get a blowout. So I am rooting for the Eagles because Philadelphia is much closer to Pete Visco in Maryland than Kansas City is. So
absolutely. Pete, has Jackson got to bed at the right hour last night or two? I know you've been busy, and I want to ruin the family dynamic out there.
Mama can take care of it every once in a while. It's all not, right. She can handle it. Not every night, but she can handle it. She's bitched and moaned about 3 nights in a row a few times, but she'll get over it. Real quick, by the way, talking about the website, at the bottom of our homepage are links to all of our sponsors. So if you ever want to visit the websites of any of our sponsors and you can't remember the name or you can't remember the website, just go to the homepage on our website, and at the bottom you'll see a logo for each, and then you'll be able to click on that and it'll take you to, and we added the new Crowns Way link the other day once Kyle mentioned that they had a new website up, so it's on there.
Here it is, Pete, if you wanted to just scroll.
So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, and then right there you can see our 4
so they're live
sponsors.
Links. Yeah,
so those are all live links. So if you want information from any of them, you can just go there if you can't remember what their actual websites are.
No, that's fantastic. Here's our website. I mean, you can look it over, folks. There's Power Picks. There's just articles. There's everything. An article I did not realize, Pete, that you wrote about a horse that you liked. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I figured why not just throw it on there. It's just sitting in a file folder on my computer for so long. Might as well put it somewhere where maybe somebody will enjoy it.
No, that was cool. Pete, we talked a lot about the Super Bowl, of course, the last 2 nights. Bettin and Boozin. If you guys have not checked this out, please check out Bettin and Boozin. It's our new sports betting / horse racing show. But this week we emphasized, of course, the Super Bowl. It's on our, go to our YouTube channel. They've had now 6 episodes. It's hosted by Kyle Roscoe and 2 other fantastic young guys who are up and comers, and Patrick Kunzel and Charlie Friedman, who have strong opinions. And so, Pete, I thought they did a great job. If you want to know anything about props, the game itself, over under, I mean, I learned a lot just watching 2 fantastic episodes this yesterday and Tuesday, Pete.
Yeah, it was awesome. So if you're not up on what the prop situation is, then the Tuesday show is the one for you. There's a ton of prop discussions, and then if you just want game analysis, and it's not just picks, it's analysis, it's numbers, it's a little bit of everything. Then the Wednesday show, but basically every week, if you're into gambling and you're a degenerate and you want to bet on anything, then you follow that show, and eventually it'll be talking about gambling on anything from football to basketball to whatever else comes up down the road.
Paul, there are no degenerates that watch this show. I have no idea what Pete's talking about.
I would like to say I resemble that remark.
I know. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't. We don't want your nose to grow, Paul, right on the screen. So I don't think you need to comment on that one.
Guys, quick shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Adelphi Racing. Got the new polo from Adelphi Racing. Thank you, Matt Cutera. They've got the stable star, Funny How, the 4-year-old New York bred filly is running this Sunday, guys. Race 3 in a tough stake race. It's the Broadway Stakes. It's 7 furlongs. It's restricted for New York bred fillies, but a horse like Bank Sting and some really high quality New York breds are running. It's Funny How's toughest test to date by far. She might be the longest shot on the board. It's only a 6-horse field. Guys, she can absolutely get in the money. We'll talk about her a little bit later, but Funny How for Adelphi Stable in the Broadway Stakes, guys, Sunday, race 3. She is the 5-horse in a field of 6. And also
sounds like a trifecta back wheel for you there, Howard. It sounds
maybe
pretty
it's
enticing.
not a small field. I think
if it's a small field, though, it might be tough. Though
I might do a cold punch exacta.
Okay, that works.
Mainly her in second, and maybe put her on top a little bit as well. But anyway, also shout out to Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Kim Weir does a fantastic job. Everyone there as well. We're big fans of theirs. I've donated them before. I know Pete and Paul are familiar with their work, and their aftercare is fantastic. So shout out to them. Let's bring real quick, guys. Let's see who's in the house here. Nick Feldman got the bourbon and the PPs out. Beautiful, Nick. That's a great combination. Deanne is here. Sam F. Davis is a tough one. 6. Wow, he's going 6 deep in the Sam F. Davis. We'll talk about that. Trish, only sports and casino wagering on? No. They've got darts. They've got a whole bunch of other things. I'm assuming she's talking about Bet US. Trish, they've got many, many different things. Highly recommend you check it out. They do have horse racing as well, but it's not like your ADW, but you can bet like future bets and a lot of other things. So highly recommend you check it out, Trish. Bet US. Patrick Kunzel, Power Picks. There you go. Thanks, Patrick. I know you've scored. Co-host of Bettin and Boozin. We got Racing Downwind is here, crushing the pick 5. Let's see, Penn State Scott. Most likely to happen, Eagles win. Pete gets picked up by ESPN for his analytics. Wow. That would be cool. Howard takes Schrupp's job on FanDuel. That ain't happening. Todd does a great job. No, that ain't going to happen. Maybe in, 10 years. Who knows? Nova rehires Jay Wright, and Paul reps his comeback game. Paul, thoughts there?
In another day, at another time. Not quite. I think that ship has sailed, although I appreciate the sentiment.
All right.
I'm happy to get up and down the floor with the Division 3 guys.
And then we got Michael Osen. Michael, you got to tell us how to pronounce your name. Is it Osen? Michael, there you go. There's the Eagles fly. Michael, if you want, unless you don't care how your name is pronounced, if you want to like phonetically spell your name in the chat, that'd be awesome. Because I don't know about you guys. I feel bad. I'm not sure how to pronounce. I'm guessing it. Paul, you're the wordsmith. That is that
I'm saying it's Osen with a.
That's Swedish, correct? I believe.
I'm saying
there
awesome.
you go.
Awesome!
You go.
Wow.
Nice work, Paul.
Dang, there you go.
Well, Paul is sharp tonight already. I feel it.
I say it's Michael Awesome. That's how good a viewer he is.
There you go. You just ruined the show as always.
All right. Well, we can just end it now. Anyway. All right, guys, let's get started. We got a lot of people watching tonight. We're very excited. The late pick 5 at Tampa. It's just the 3 of us. That's all you need tonight. Let's jump in. Now, guys, before I show the first race, Paul, you know what's coming up. Do you know what I'm going to talk about first? Let's talk about the weather forecast. Every time we come on, it looks like there's going to be rain, and it doesn't develop. We got to mention it. There's a 70% chance of rain, supposedly in the morning. Pete, if you could double check. Pete's looking up the update. That's what I saw yesterday. Chance of rain in the morning, and then maybe in the afternoon. it makes a huge difference because the last race of the sequence is scheduled on turf. And I also think there's some horses, guys, that would really benefit from the wet dirt, especially in the Sam F. Davis. I bet you guys know who I'm talking about. So, Pete, you got an update on the weather there for Tampa on Sunday?
I'm apparently a little slow.
Oldsmar, Florida.
There you go.
Town.
No, well,
Pete, while he's looking that up, Paul, you want to quickly talk about your Florida trip real quick?
Oh yeah, Gulfstream. Gulfstream was great. I mean, I love the new Gulfstream. It's not so new anymore. You know, a lot of people didn't like when they scaled it down, and you know, we can't host the Breeders' Cup anymore. I mean, that walking ring, as you know, how you've been down there. You know, yeah. I just think it was great. Friday it was 85 and sunny, and back here in Boston it was -10. So that was a good ratio. And speaking of the weather, Howard, Saturday the forecast was pretty ugly, and it turned out not bad at all. In fact, there were times in the afternoon Saturday that the sun was out.
It wasn't bad.
Sunday turned out to be the complete washout. It rained all night Saturday into Sunday. But I went to the track for all 9 anyway. Don't worry. I don't skip races. But
as you said,
it was good.
Day, the track is better than a sunny day anywhere else. So
yeah, and it was really good. I got a chance to get some work done on a project I'm working on, so I took advantage of that. I saw Larry Kalmus. I saw Eddie Gray, works for Gulfstream, former turf writer for the Boston Herald. At one point we had, Howard, at one point in Dave Joseph's office, we had four former members of the New England Turf Writers Association together. Wow. Rich Fahey, myself, Larry, and Eddie Gray. So we were only missing our president, Jessica Paquette.
Did you guys have some chowder?
I don't travel 1,500 miles to eat chowder when I can get it just fine here. No,
Pete, what's the weather update? Then we gotta get to the show here.
I mean, it looks like about a 50% chance of rain with thunderstorms during the day, and then 80% at night. But I can't really tell the time of it necessarily. But you know, thunderstorms are weird. It could be quick, you know, especially the Florida ones, you know, they could be those quick
we'll have to see.
downpours. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're going to handicap speed. You know, me and Paul don't get all wrapped up in that.
No, I think, Howard, they're going to try to keep that last race on, I think, based on, you know, you got 2 Chad Browns, a Clement, you know, there's turf breeding all over the place. So I would think
there's also only one AE, and it's a bad AE. There's only one, you know,
30 to 1 shot,
so,
right? Yeah.
You know, there could be a lot of scratches. All right, guys, let's get to the pick 5. I'm going to show the banners on the screen for the first race. There they are. And let's jump right in, guys, to boom. There we go. Starts in race 7. I love the fact it starts right away with a stake race, guys. I love it. Stake race. There's 4 stake races in this sequence. And the first one, race 7, it's about 3:27 Eastern. It's the Minaret. This is for filly and mares. It's a purse of 50,000, 6 furlongs on the dirt. There is a huge favorite, and forget the 7 to 5. This horse can be less than 7 to 5, in my opinion. The big favorite is the number 5, Carmel Swirl for Mott and Alvarado. And you can see on the screen that we're all not going with the favorite. Pete, finally, you and I are thinking, how about that, huh, Pete? You and I are thinking exactly the same way for once. We are both not going with the big favorite. We're going to go with number 2. It must be our destiny or my destiny to have you with the same picks as me. That's you're going with to start this pick 5, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is one where, you know, the 5 is obviously the class. I mean, just based on class, figures, past form, everything. The hope would have to just be that, you know, off a layoff since August, maybe she doesn't come back as sharp, and this is the time you catch her. So with this 2, my destiny, I mean, this horse is just red hot. 4 straight wins. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that on the page. 7 out of 9 at the distance. This one has, I really like you're going now from 77 buyer, 84, 90. So we're climbing the ranks. We're still not anywhere near where Caramel Swirl can hit on her best day. But again, if she comes back a little bit and this horse improves a little bit, then we're getting closer. It's tough for a 6-year-old, but we'll take it. Herman Walensky, 1-2 in this race in 2022, including this one who ran second. So I always like that. It's maybe a cheesy little angle, but I like the comeback in the same race the next year. Also, we're picking up Gaff Leone, who it's a huge rider upgrade. So I'll take that here as well. And then I think this one tactically can just sit off. There's there's a bunch of speed. I mean, there's 4 horses in time form, 100 plus early pace. So there should be a little bit of speed here. And I think this one has the capability to sit off. So if the 1 goes, but if the 1 doesn't go and the 2 goes, looks comfortable enough to also sit, right on or right off the lead.
Yeah, and before we talk about the big favorite, by the way, before we talk about any other horses, guys, let's put us on the screen. I forgot something. There we go. Okay. Anyway, they can't get on the track until we get the call to post. Pete, I'll let you talk about the 8, and then Paul, you'll talk about the 5, and I'll give my final opinions here. I have a little bit of history with this horse. I'll tell you why in a minute, but we have this horse in 3rd, Pete. I think this horse is live.
I mean, again, it's one of those, you look at the page, I mean, you see it on the screen there. You're going from the last race with Motion, you're running in a 53 buyer now with Delgado, who's red hot, 84, 87, wire to wire victories. I mean, that's a quick turnaround, a huge jump up, but this is a $360,000 horse. So it wasn't like it was coming from, some 20,000 claimer. I mean, it was a horse that apparently had something to go for that sales price. And again, I always like the fact that if you're going to have a horse whose sort of fortunes and races turn around, there's at least some reasoning behind it. And here you could see the trainer switch was obviously the catalyst for this in whatever that did. And now it's just, she's on the improve. She's lightly enough raced. She's 3 for 3 at the distance, 1 for 1 at Tampa. And again, a newly anointed 4-year-old who's on the up, the up and up swing. So if she keeps going, again, she's going to have to move forward one more time to get to the level of, say, Caramel Swirl. But I think she might have a shot.
I think she does. Now, here's the quick history. So you go 2 back at Gulfstream. Matt Miller, our good friend Matt Miller, was in Gulfstream that weekend. And I tipped out this horse who was like 8-1 or 7-1 going to post and got bet down and didn't look nearly as good on paper. I mean, you can see what she did before. There are reasons why I liked her. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but Matt did his typical Matt Miller, let's put a few shekels on her, and it worked out great for him, obviously. Not only that, Matt has a daughter named Olivia. How about that?
Perfect.
But he has 2 daughters. One daughter was at the track, but not Olivia. The other daughter was actually at the track. But Matt is actually... Matt says he's actually going against his own daughter. Wow, in this race. If you're against, I prefer the 2. I'm not sure you play Caramel Swirl for 2nd. Seems like a good chance she's either right or not. And yes, Howard, I am fading Olivia. Have you ever faded a Jackson, Pete, in a race?
Plenty times, unfortunately.
Okay. How's it worked out for you?
Well, here and there.
Okay.
At least if they win, my dad wins. So at least even if I don't have it, I know that he's cashing some tickets.
There you go.
On it. So
anyway, Olivia's in very fine form, but she is mainly speed. I don't see. She's got to break on top.
She's got to go, and she's got
to this race. So
yeah, she's got to outbreak. By the way, real quick, Delgado, small sample size stat: 7 out of 9 wins, 8 out of 9 in the money in non-graded stakes, either dirt or turf races in the past 6 months. So he's just been, red hot, and he's doing it at the stakes level, which is, a plus in a race like this.
Yeah. All right, Paul, you get to talk about Caramel Swirl. Now, I'm going to let you do all the talking here, and then I'll comment after you're done. The only thing I will say, preface your comments, is there's no freaking way, Paul, this horse is 7-5. This smells like 3-5 to me. Would you agree with that?
I don't think he'll be over even money. Yes, I would agree. And after banging my head against the wall and trying to figure out a way to beat her, I can see it. We always default to trying to beat the heavy favorite. And, so if you want to say it's 6 furlongs and she's a 7 furlong specialist, that's legit. If you want to talk about the long layoff, that's legit. But, trainer William I. Mott, I heard he's pretty good with this type of move. He's had a couple of pretty good Saturdays in a row at Gulfstream Park. I think, Pete, you touched on the time form. I just think the race is at least as fast as it looks on paper, if not faster. And I just think she gets, she just comes and steamrolls them. I really do.
Guys, here's how I feel. The minute I saw this race, I thought of one horse, and it's obligatory. This has so much of obligatory written on to me, Pete and Paul. It's crazy. Now I could be totally wrong on Saturday, but let me just talk about the comparisons. And Paul, you just mentioned a few. Remember, Obligatory is coming off actually a much shorter layoff than this. She's mainly a 7-furlong horse, and it was Mott, correct? Carmel Swirl's coming off a long layoff. The 6-furlong scares the hell out of me on what could be a speed favoring track. This is just a weird spot, Pete, for this horse to come back. It's only a $50,000 stake. Her workouts are slow. This is just weird. And Paul, to me, either she wins by 5 or she is not in first or second. And I have a feeling she's not going to fire her best. I don't, and I mentioned the reasons why. Paul, I'll let you talk about it. I mean, I think either you single this horse and pick 5 or you toss her. That's how I feel, because this is just a strange spot for me, guys. Really weird. I don't know.
Yeah, but the one difference with her and Obligatory is with Obligatory, you are guaranteed she's going to be last early. Okay, regardless. This horse doesn't have to be that far back. This horse has races where she's gone to the lead and then races where she's come from 7th out of 11 to win the Ravens run.
Fair enough.
So I think that's the difference. And then, I'm looking at her last 5 races. She won 3. And if she runs the race she ran in the other 2 where she didn't win, losing a Good Night Olive and Aradios Jersey and Pauline's Pearl, she wins. So, again, I'm not looking to hand out a box of chalk to our loyal people here, but I just I'm going to go the single route.
And I totally get it, and I could be a complete knucklehead, but Pete, this horse has never gone 6, and she's got slow works on a track that could be speed favoring. I will predict, I don't know if she's going to win or not, but there is no way in hell she's going to run a mid-90s race. I think she's going to run like a 90. Now, that might be good enough to win anyway. I'd be shocked if she runs a good number here, Pete, compared to what she's been running. That's all I'm saying.
No, I could see that. And I guess if there was a little bit, all the competition behind her, even though we like a couple of the horses, they all have to move forward to get into her range. So she's going to have to take a step back, and they're still going to have to move a little bit forward. So I could see Paul's point of view 100%, where that was for you, Kyle. I could see where he can, she can move back and she can maybe not be as sharp as she could, but she sits off speed. And especially if any of these speed horses, because a couple of the speed horses are ones we like. And if they sort of hook up and get into something, then she's going to have a nice, easy trip and roll by.
I wish the race didn't set up as well as it sort of looks on paper for
That's
the
problem.
Guys.
It sets up. Yeah, it sets up for her nicely.
I didn't really talk about my Minaret. I'll just mention, Pete, that I like that. It looks like she can rate a little bit. I just see the 2, My Destiny getting a very nice trip. I don't know if she classes up. I don't know if she's good enough. But I like the fact that I think she can sit off a little bit, Pete. And she's improving. So those.
I had the same thing, because I think if the 8 has to go, the 1 probably has to go. So if the 2 just lets that happen and can get a spot behind those 2, and they wear each other out and gets first run, then maybe Carmel Swirl's a little bit further back than she likes, and maybe it's not as sharp, and maybe we get the jump on her and nail her at the wire at a little bit of a price. Yeah,
I remember talking about a horse that we hope we get the jump on and win at Fairgrounds a few weeks ago. I believe that worked out okay. This is a different situation.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go to race 8. By the way, we have a fantastic crowd tonight watching live. Thanks for watching us here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Please make sure you put any comments in the chat. We'd love to hear anything you have to say. Race 8, guys, the next race. This is the boys' version of race 7. This is the Pelican. It's 6 furlongs for the boys. This is $100,000. Like I said, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is a nice field, guys. This is a big field too. You got a field of 11. Oh, a Maryland bred there, Pete, on the bottom.
Maryland bred. Yeah,
there you
Maryland
go.
Bred.
I don't know if it's gonna be paradise for this horse on Saturday, but anyway, he's got some tough customers. The morning line favorite is the number 5 Sibelius for Jeremiah O'Dwyer and Junior Alvarado, a guy, Paul, that you got to know very well down in Florida last weekend. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Paul, we're going to go to you first, and you are chalking out with Sibelius, who is in very good form right now.
Yeah, I promise I'm not going to do this every race. I don't want to steal Kyle's thunder picking all this.
We got to start calling you the Prince of Massachusetts.
Yeah. The only thing, Howard, that I will say that I had a slight pause is, boy, in an era where we complain that horses don't run enough, how about this guy? 11 starts last year, almost won a month. And again, no break. that would be my one area of concern. The horse is pretty much a once-a-month horse. There's not a layoff line on the page on the 12. Actually, anywhere on the page.
I'll
You're
go
looking at the
down
formula.
here. There's only
All the
one
way,
layoff line. That wasn't that
yeah,
big a
which you have
layoff.
to go way back a year and a half. So
Yeah.
that's my concern. But you said it, in form, and I'm looking at the numbers, and your horse Howard, I would say that has that 93 kind of sticks out, and some of the others have comparable numbers, but unless this horse is a little over the top, um, I just think I think he's kind of got this field over a barrel. I do think, and I picked him second. The three's going to take a lot of money. I like this guy. I know I picked him third. I like this guy, appreciably better than the three. I'll be more inclined to try to get the three out of it and try to get maybe a price behind this horse.
Okay. So, by the way, some information on Sibelius, Paul, and people at home that you may not know. Sibelius has been invited/nominated to the Dubai Golden Shakeen, which is the big 6 furlong race in Dubai in late March. So the connections are serious about this horse. The Dubai Racing Club thinks this horse is an up-and-comer. He is rock solid. I didn't love him last time, Paul, to be honest, at Gulfstream, and that tough Mr. Prospector. He got a perfect trip. We're not going to show the replay.
Yeah, I agree.
He was awfully good, Paul. He just stalked and went by real easily. So
yeah, I agree, Howard. I thought he was, pretty beatable that day, and he made that race look silly, didn't he?
Nah, he was fantastic. The other horse you've got, Paul, that Pete's got third, I have nowhere in my top three, is No K No from the rail for Fausto Gutierrez and Jose Ortiz. You want to quickly talk about this horse, Paul?
Yeah, good number. Put up a 90 last time. Good. I don't think the rail would be a problem. No disrespect to Mr. Rojas or Mr. Morelos or Mr. Reyes or Mr. Vasquez, but a huge jockey upgrade to Jose Ortiz, who's going over there for the day. Obviously, we'll be talking about him later. He did not run well in the aforementioned Mr. Prospector, Howard. He didn't lift a hoof, which is probably why he's already run once in between. Fausto is a good horseman, known for his great job with Latruska, obviously. So, and as I say, my strategy in the race is to live with what I can get on Sibelius and maybe get a price behind him. And this is my candidate for a price.
Hey, Paul, one thing. Oh, sorry, Howard. Just going to say one thing on the one. It's a weird one because he sort of bounces around from different distances. But if you only looked at the 6 furlongs, and if that was sort of his card, was the 6 furlongs, and that was his PPs, you'd be like, man, this horse is pretty good. You got an 88, finished third by a half. Then you came back and gets a win at a 92, then moves up a little bit again, gets a win or it's a second at a 90. So it would be at least, I think, a little bit more reasonable. There wouldn't be as much sort of dirt on the page. Maybe you'd get a little lower than 10 if that was the case.
Usually once a show, you guys have a little bit of a mishap. I mean, I screwed up half of the intros today, so I apologize for all the stumbling and bumbling. But when it comes to horse racing handicapping, again, Paul and Pete are as sharp as they come, but once in a while they miss something. And in this case, it's the 7. I have no idea what you guys don't like. Well, actually, no, I know what you don't like. Let me try to convince at least, if not the two of you, maybe some people at home. Uphold the law. There are a lot of things I like about this horse. Obviously, guys, he needs to improve. No doubt about it. This is a very lightly raced 5-year-old. He's just 4 for 5 lifetime. All he does is run well. Okay, he didn't run great at Colonial, 2 back, fine. Other than that, he's been fantastic. Got a 93 Bayern, which was a very live. That was a pretty tough allowance race. If you guys take a look at it. Omaha Red, higher standard. That was a nice race. And there's 2 things I really like about this horse, guys, on Saturday. Number one, I love the fact he's the best speed on the outside. There's a lot of speed in this race. I like the fact that Morales can break and just look to his left and see what's going to happen. Number one, and number two, guys, if you look at the bottom left, that 48 breezing is a nice workout, and Stidham is a little more on the conservative side. For this horse to run back relatively quickly in less than a month in this spot, to me, shows a lot of confidence. I really think Uphold the Law is fascinating. I don't know if he's good enough, but his numbers are increasing. And Pete and Paul, I think this is the fly in the ointment of Sibelius. I really like this horse. Any quick thoughts, either one of you? You don't have them, this horse in your top 3, but maybe in your B's or C's. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually have this one as a B. It was close to making the. It was a competition between like 3 horses for the 3rd spot. So for me, they were pretty much all equal in a sense, and I landed on the 1, but definitely had this horse in the mix. Again, I do. You're right. You have to class up a bit, but again, if you sort of toss that 1-2 back, which I'm not sure exactly what went wrong there, maybe just the pace duel sort of got to it a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty fast. Yeah,
yeah, it
22
was
and
quick.
44 and change at Colonial.
Yeah.
Off a layoff too, by the way, off a long layoff.
Yeah, now you're getting second off this
Yeah.
after off of a bit of a longer layoff, and that one was a very long layoff, and you're getting second off here. So, and again, you're going 4 to 5, which you could definitely see a little bit of improvement 4 to 5. So no, I like this horse. Again, only 3 can make the board here, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be on a ticket.
Shout out to Chris Alone. Chris, I don't think we've seen your name, Chris. Welcome to the show. We're going to have a lot of new viewers, guys, because Twitter was ablaze with our Power Picks last weekend. We have a lot of new sponsors and new viewers. We really cannot thank all of you enough. If you're a new viewer and you're watching us for the first time and you enjoy what you're listening and seeing, please spread the word. Look at our Power Picks below the video player. It's our tip sheet. We really think we offer a lot to the horse player. Chris Alone mentioned that Sibelius ran huge numbers with Lasix, Paul, in the past. Now he gets back here. It was very good last time. It's Chris's single. I've got no problem with that. I only have Sibelius 3rd, really for no other reason because I'm trying to beat him. It's not a good opinion. I'm going to just readily say it. He's absolutely the horse to beat. But there's other speed in the race. It's a track he's never been to. I don't know. By the way, No does have a race over the surface. As I go to the next race, guys, how much credence do you give horses that have raced over Tampa, which can be a bit quirky at times, Paul?
Yeah, I think Tampa is one of those tracks where you probably want to pay a little more attention to that than others. It's typically a little deeper. Yeah. I heard there was some talk on, I think it was Steve Bick's show today about, one of the reasons Pletcher does well is he trains at Palm Beach Downs, which is a similarly deep surface. So yeah, I think Tampa is one of the places where you do want to pay. It's potentially an advantage to having a trip over. And if you are trying to beat a horse, as in this case, that's certainly something you can hang your hat on.
There you go. Real quick, guys, before we talk about the next 3 races, there are a lot of people that weren't watching at the very beginning of the show. I do want to talk about sorry, I didn't mean to take all you guys off the screen. My bad. Wow. Okay, let's try that again. Well, we'll all go off the screen for a second. No, I'm going to do it this way. Sorry. BetUS. BetUS is a great new sponsor for us, guys. You can read on the bottom of the screen. It's a fantastic betting platform. They have 300 to 400 different props to bet on. And most importantly, all the information is below the video player. When you sign up, you need to use the code RACING3H. No spaces. Racing3H, and that gives you 125% free back if you deposit $100 or more. You can find out below. Pete, I know, and Paul, we talked about the Super Bowl coming up. If you do not, belong to a betting platform, what's wrong, Pete, with getting at least $125 free or more? Of course, the more you deposit. Again, Racing3H. This is the time to do it this week, Pete, with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, you could spend a bunch of money on Sunday, so might as well be spending some of their money instead of all of yours.
Absolutely. And then also, once again, and I know some people were watching earlier, Crown's Way Racing, guys, is a new sponsor. Here's the information below the video player. This is a fantastic syndicate. If you don't have big bucks, you want to be a horse owner, like me as of last year. Crown's Way is only $500 entry fee. All the information is below the at the bottom of the screen there. Tony Rowell does a great job. You can enter only for $500 and start owning horses. Their best horse is a grade 1 horse who has won turf races. He's really good. Smokin' Jay. He's a turf sprinter of grade 1 quality. They have other really good horses in their barn. And they're starting something called Series E, guys, which is going to be claiming horses and younger horses as well. So I really recommend everyone look into Crown's Way Racing, guys, another new sponsor for us, and Tony Rallo. They're actually going to be with us, guys, next week. Tony Rollo, and a few other surprises we've got to talk about Crownsway Racing next weekend.
And you did an episode with Tony already, right?
We did.
So I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but there's one in our archives where I assume you got into, remember we got into some of the nuts and bolts of what they do. So if you want to go back and check that one out, that would be helpful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Check that out for sure. All right, guys, let's go to race 9. Race 9 on the bottom of the screen. This is where the 3-year-olds, guys, this is where it gets fun. We got Kentucky Oaks prep and then Kentucky Derby prep. Both of them have points to those prospective races. Let's talk first about race 9. It's the Suncoast Stakes. This is for the girls, 150,000 in the kitty. They're going 1 mile and 40 yards. It's a very short run into that first turn. Pay attention to that. And the morning line favorite, guys, is a big morning line favorite, deservingly so. This is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Champion, the number 1 Wonder Wheel, making her 3-year-old debut. Mark Casse, Tyler Gaffleone. The other heavy, the horse that's going to be bet a lot is the outside horse, the number 9, Julia Shining for Pletcher and Saez. Horses we've talked both guys a lot about, especially Julia Shining as of late. Pete, we're going to go to you first. That's who you're going with. You're going with the minor upset for Pletcher and Saez.
Yeah, I mean, this is my kind of horse. He's a deep closer. I always like that. And I think the one thing with Wonder Wheel, even though she was the 2-year-old filly champion, she doesn't tower over fields from, say, a speed figure standpoint. I mean, you see, even in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly, she got an 83, which is doable. So if she, for some reason, was just better and doesn't really improve, then that's a very beatable sort of number. And I think Julia Shining, 2 races in, I really like the race. I really like the last one, even
Which
though.
Which one you want to show? Because they're similar, and
I mean, they're both
I'm sure
similar.
You'll mention the kickback, and it's crazy with this horse.
Well, that was exactly the notes I had.
Everyone.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that you see her on the inside there in the back taking direct kickback, and maybe doesn't love it, and that's fine. I mean, it's her second race. It's the first time in the slop, first time going long, and she's going 1 mile and an eighth. You're going from 7 furlongs to 1 mile and an eighth, and you're in the slop, and you're taking kickback, and you're way in the back.
I mean, Pete, she's all out right here. Like, all out. If it was any other horse, you would say this horse is completely done. I mean, she is absolutely all out right here.
Yeah, that's what's funny when I was watching it, because I hadn't watched the race in a while, and I was like, man, I don't remember it looking this tough. But yeah, as you're watching, he's like, I guess, sometimes if they're not taking to the surface or something and you don't know how they feel, but then look at her, she just sort of kicks in and she doesn't. I mean, the affirmative lady who runs second runs a monster race as well, but she took all the brunt of everything and still, won not comfortable, but she won as the best horse in the race. And that's just going to be, you figure, a jumping point from an experience standpoint, from an adversity standpoint. She's only going to get better from there. And again, if Wonder Wheel maybe sort of just levels off as opposed to taking a big step up, then this is a horse that I want to root for.
Yeah, she's really long-winded, and she looks like she could run all day. I mean, Paul, she's got like personal ensign stakes at Saratoga written all over her. I think that's 1.25 mile race, if I recall, Paul, in the summer at Saratoga. But this is only 1 mile and 40 yards, and
that's the concern. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's an outside post. Paul, I'm going to let you chime in. You've got this horse on top. What are your concerns with Julia Shining, even though you have her on top, Paul?
Well, the number is going to have to go up. Obviously, she had 2, the 71 and the 70. You showed that last race, Howard. I got to tell you, somehow no one does that better than Luis Saez.
Yeah.
He puts horses under a ride at the 3/8 pole like no tomorrow. And Howard, I agree with you. You're looking at it saying, oh, this horse has got to be done. Look how he's riding them. But he gets the damn horses to finish. It happens again and again and again. And if the rain does come, by the way, based on what we saw on the screen and based on the breeding of this horse, then just don't even consider her losing. I don't think.
Plus, Paul, here's the weird thing though. With if they seal it, it depends on what kind of slop. If it's really sloppy, that's not going to help her with kickback situation. If it's like sealed that would help her. It's weird. Like, I agree with you. It's a 446 Tomlinson, and she's won on wet, but doesn't that create more kickback though too? So to me, I don't know.
I don't
No?
know.
Okay.
I see my guy Curlin's name there, Howard, and I think of being at Monmouth Park for the 2007 Breeders' Cup Classic. 4-1, by the way. If you could play one race over in your life, Paul, what one would it be? The 2007 Breeders' Cup Classic. And I hit it pretty good, by the way.
By the way, Paul, Dreaming of Julia has 3 for 3 wins, her progeny, or 3 for 3 wins on the wet as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you're getting Dreaming of Julia has the same, just less.
Wonder
Wheels
okay, though, too. And I will tell you this. It was a popular opinion to be against Wonder Wheel somewhat into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I was not. I had this horse as an A on my ticket that I didn't hit, but I did have this horse as an A. I think today is Saturday rather is the day that if you're going to beat her, you beat her. I think she's going to get better. I think, Pete, you bring up a good point. There's every reason to believe that she might not throw a mid-80s in her comeback race. I'll be honest with you. I think there's as good a chance as beating her today as there is on the first Friday in May.
Let's get some comments, guys. Nick Feldman said that this is true. Cassie did say Wonder Wheel is the best 2-year-old he'd ever trained, and that's saying something since he had Classic Empire. I think it was the best filly. I'm not sure if it was 2-year-old, but Nick, you might be right about that. Matt Miller, let's see. Matt Miller commented that he thinks it's close to 56, tied to Nick Feldman. Paul, I have a sneaky suspicion your ticket will cost less than $25. I'm finding it fun to handicap your handicapping. Thanks, Matt. Matt, by the way, was also in Florida recently. I think he's home now, so welcome back home. He was actually in the Tampa Bay sort of vicinity. So, Matt, I hope you had a nice time there. Let's see here. I'm just looking at some other comments. Okay.
Yeah, Nick
also talked about the pace, the early pressing. Those are pace figures we're talking about there are winning at 38% and 45% in Tampa. So going 2 turns. So Nick is simply saying, Pete, that it's better to be up close, suggesting that it'd be tougher for Julia Shining.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, Nick made one other comment that I thought was good, where Wonder Wheel was really impressive because everybody thought the reason why she might not win the juvenile fillies was because she wouldn't be able to get an uncontested lead, and she winds up being in the back of the pack and closes like all the other horses we thought were going to do. So her versatility was key. And yeah, again, in some of these races, especially when you're depending on a closer and a deep closer, you're always at the mercy of what's happening up front. And that would be the detriment of betting on Julia Shining, is that you're going to need pace. You're going to need a track that's allowing for a closer. So I think you just comes with it, and you're getting maybe a little bit of price with that, with that built in already.
The $56 comment came from this comment from Nick that said the pick five's either going to pay $25K or $56 with all these heavy favorites. You got Wonder Wheel, you got Julia Shining's not going to be fair, but you got Wonder Wheel, Sibelius, and then Carmel Swirl. So it's something I'm going to talk about in the Power Picks, guys. This is a very interesting betting situation on Saturday and what you do, because there are a lot of heavy favorites and you can construct tickets many different ways. The only thing I'll say about Wonder Wheel, guys, is I would have gone against her for all the reasons you mentioned on Saturday. This is a great post. It's a short run into the first turn. She's going to save ground. I agree, Pete. She might not run in mid-80s. I don't think she needs to. I mean, other than Julia Shining, this field is just not real strong. Someone's really going to have to step up. I think she can run a 78 and still get the job done, even though I don't think she's going to run a 78. I think she'll run a nice race. She's been working well. I think Wonder Wheel is real obvious. Real quick on the 8, Pete or Paul, we all have this horse in the mix. Actually, Pete doesn't, but Paul, the 8 ticker tape home. I watched some replays. I don't know if she's going to handle the dirt. This is a nice horse, and here we go. It's the other Cassie. Have we heard of this before?
Yeah, and when it comes to horses changing surfaces, I just think it's less of an issue. Mark does it probably more than anyone. He starts horses on the turf who he thinks going to run on dirt eventually, and vice versa. Certainly, the Warfront Dam Sire indicates turf, but a medallion by Medaglia d'Oro says that he should be able to run on dirt, right? And I thought this horse was a little interesting as a price. On an ABC scenario, it'd probably be a C, but for an underneath play, with one of the big guys and trying to beat one of the big guys. We'll talk about the sequence later, Howard, but you have to make some decisions.
Well, and as I get a little blurry, which happens sometimes. Okay, it'll straighten itself out.
You don't feel the need to get closer to the screen at all, do not.
Well,
it's actually beneficial.
We're
it's
good.
Actually beneficial.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Everyone's like,
no, really, don't.
Blurry.
No,
anyway, sorry
back.
about that. I think it'll adjust eventually. Anyway, people look at the bottom of the screen, they see that CAA. That's Cassie's own training center. So obviously the horse is ready to roll, guys. Let's go to the feature. The feature of the day. It's the Sam F. Davis, guys. This is, let me switch over the banners so my wonderful friends can see who picked what here. It's a grade 3. This is points for the Kentucky Derby. I believe the points are 50, 20, 10, 5. I'd like to say off the top of my head, something like that. $250,000, $250,000. This is the prep for the Tampa Bay Derby. They're going a mile and 16, so it is a little bit longer than the girls' race we just handicapped. It's a big field, a huge field of 12 you see on the screen. And the morning line favorite is a fairly big morning line favorite, which I got to be honest, surprised me guys a little bit, is the 9-5 Dubinel for Gargan and Jose Ortiz. This is a very logical horse, but none of us have this horse in first or second. Paul, let's go to you. You're going with the number 11, Litigate for Pletcher and Saez, 5-1 in the morning line. Paul, I've got a strong feeling this horse is going to be bet down to. I wouldn't be shocked if this horse is even the favorite, Paul. I don't. This 5-1 is completely ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if he's 5-1, Howard, I might and doesn't win, I might not have any money left to bet the Eagles again on Sunday.
Okay.
I think I touched on the fact that Pletcher does well here. This is why Saez is coming over to ride this horse. I agree. Danny Gargan is either a genius or, he could have run this horse back in New York, pointing toward the wood. The horse obviously likes Aqueduct. Chose to ship the horses. He's been down here, but chose to keep him here for this race as opposed to shipping back to New York. I don't know. This is the favorite I'm trying to beat. I agree with you. God, I hope Litigate's not the favorite, but I'm hoping we can maybe get half that price. I would take 5-2. But let me say this. It's a somewhat open race. You'll see the horse I use second, who's going to be about $1 million to 1, the 12 horse. I could see this race, weird things happening. It's a full field, going a mile and 16th. We don't know what the track's going to be like. But I do like Litigate in this spot.
Paul, this was Litigate's last race. Now, Cyclone Mischief was fantastic, the 3 horse in this race. You saw Cyclone Mischief last weekend, did not run very well at all in the Holy Bull. Here's Litigate on the outside, losing the Cyclone Mischief. As we watch this race, there's really not much to say from a trip standpoint. Well, Paul, what do you do because Cyclone Mischief handled Litigate? You see Cyclone Mischief got out to was in the inside and won easily and then threw in a clunker. But to me, Paul, I don't think that's really a negative against Litigate in this situation for me. How do you feel about that?
Well, let me say this. I did not like Cyclone Mischief in that race. I really, really liked Mott's horse, Rocket Can, who won the race. Actually had a chance to meet in person Frank Fletcher for the first time, who I've interviewed on the phone many times. Great guy. But I will say this. Tyler Gaffleone's a great jockey, Howard. That was not a good ride on Cyclone Mischief. Cyclone Mischief broke sharply, and Tyler really worked to wrangle that horse back. Steve Dick was talking
now. I'm sorry. You're talking about
no, I'm talking about in the Holy
Bull. I'm sorry.
In the Holy Bull, not this race. In the Holy Bull, the horse is Steve Bick pointed this out this morning, and I couldn't agree with him more. The horse broke pretty sharply. Tyler really made an effort to take him back, and then he was pretty bottled up all the way down the backstretch, And now after all that, after almost a mile of that, you're going to say, okay, now let's kick it in. Now, I don't think he was winning that race. Like I say, I didn't like him, but there's no way he's as bad as that race is going to look on paper. So I wouldn't be overly concerned with Litigate losing to him like that because, Cyclone Mischief still put up, I think it was a 90 buyer, I believe, that race. So that he came back fast. So again, I think Cyclone Mischief's race was not quite as bad as it looks.
Okay.
And I do think Litigate's in a good spot here.
And
I use the 12 right there, Howard. The 12 is going to go to the lead and keep going and going and going and get caught by Litigate.
All right. Well, we'll talk about Zydeco in a minute. Pete, I have Litigate second. You have him nowhere. My only concern, listen, Todd knows what he's doing. Obviously, he mentioned, I think, on our interview, Paul, I think he mentioned this horse wanted to stretch out. I'd have to go back and listen to the interview, which was a great interview. For those of you watching tonight, if you have no idea what we're talking about, Paul and I had a one-on-one interview with Todd Pletcher. It's on our website. Check it out on the YouTube channel. I don't like the fact he didn't finish real well, Paul. That's a minor concern to me. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I rather prefer him finish second or third, striding out well and finishing well. I didn't get the impression by the last race that he wants to stretch out, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, I mean, you may be right, but boy, blame out of a mine shaft.
Yeah. Well,
it was too that the move that Litigate made too. Maybe it was just not used to that move and took a little starch out of him. I mean, I don't have this one in my top three, but this was a race where I was probably about.
Well, there you go, Pete. Sorry, you can see on the screen.
Even.
Pete, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, look at that.
I'll let you talk. Look at the second quarter for Litigate. This is exactly. Please educate our viewers here and listeners about what we're seeing on the screen, because not everyone could see what we're looking at here.
Yeah, and if you see in that under the half, you could see that Litigate went 22 and 11, which is super quick, especially making a move that early into a race when it's sort of your first time routing. You make that move, and you're making that move wide as well into a pretty good horse. So that was tough. And I just wonder, and now you're getting Saez again. Maybe Saez will have a little bit more patience this time. So, I mean, I have no problem with Litigate. I was a little worried. I'm not great with the lead changes. If I recall, in both races, there maybe would have been a little bit of lead change and a little greenness. So I just didn't know if maybe this one out of the 11 hole, if he's still a little bit green and is still trying to figure himself out, then maybe that's a reason why. Again, there was about 5 or 6. Somebody mentioned that earlier. They were all basically on the same line almost for me. And you just have to cut it down to 3 for the show. But this one was right there for me. And the 12 as well. I'm with you, Paul. I was knocking on the door with this 12, but I actually went with the one who he beat last time as actually one of my horses.
I agree. Paul, I hope Zydeco does well for you. I don't see how this horse clears, and even if he does, this is a tougher field. I don't see it, but listen, if he can get out there, why not, right? We've seen crazier things, especially at Tampa Bay, so I got no problem with you using this horse. I think, if speed's playing well, especially. Pete, you're going with the 2. The 2 is Prairie Hawk. Now, this is a horse that was in a very short field along with the number 5 Groveland. He is Triple Crown nominated. Guys, it's nice to see this little banner, right? Now we know he's Triple Crown nominated because that costs $600, I think, Paul. And now it's going to be $6,000 in a few weeks if I recall. But Pete, what do you like about this horse? Too.
I mean, this is one that's again, they're all pretty lightly raced. This one's lightly raced on the improve. You see, again, we talk about what makes a horse improve, and is there something that maybe caused that? This one, once he stretched out, and even though, again, there were 2 really short fields, so again, that could just be a benefit where maybe in a deeper field he's going to have some trouble. But once he stretched out and started routing, he just sort of came into his own, and he went from a 51 to a 70 to an 80 buyer. And now here, I mean, you see, he's kicking pretty well here. I mean, Groveland is coming at him. And I mean, again, this was a race where I'm sort of, they're all on even terms for me. I did like a few things about this horse where I thought he was he was working really well going into that last race on the 13th. He had that nice 59-4 on the 31st, then a 47-4. Went into that race, ran really well, and then came out of it and still had 2 bang-up works after that. So I like when they sort of come in strong, race well, hold their form after. This one was a little sentimental thing. He's a half to Quip, who won the Tampa Bay Derby back a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I like that. I thought that was maybe some good karma there or something.
Okay.
And we talked about Tampa, and this one's got 2 wins over the track. So there's a few things there that I liked in a race where I'm sort of all over the place. And I had to pick somebody on top. I thought this one makes as much sense as anybody else.
It's Winstar. Now 2 races back, he came from behind. I don't think he's going to have the lead in this race at all, Pete. So I've got him I think I've got him as a C right now. I'm going very skinny this Saturday for reasons I'll talk about. But listen, he wouldn't shock me. He goes from a 70 to an 80.
And there's no world beaters in this race.
No.
I mean, this doesn't look to me. I mean, when I go through this field, I'd be hard pressed if you said any of these horses made any sort of Derby contention, or even if none of them even made the field, it wouldn't shock me, in all honesty. So that's why I thought maybe we can get somebody at a price who's a little bit under the radar.
Let me talk about my top choice, guys. Now, Champion's Dream lost horse to a horse, Paul. He lost to Zydeco last time. I think Champion's Dream is going to run a big race. This is Mark Cash has got a bunch. Tyler's on this one, which tells me this is his best hope. Look at the breeding, guys. The source is by Justify out of the Tapit Mare Dancing in Her Dreams. I mean, you would think this horse wants to go long. The Dancing in Her Dreams was a pretty nice horse there, as you can see, and had Dreamology, who didn't do much but was a distance horse. I think this horse wants 2 turns, guys, and he's got improving to do, but he did improve nicely in the Pasco. I understand that he lost to Zydeco, but he's been working well. I think this, if it comes up sloppy, that might be a problem. I don't love this horse, but I feel about the 9, Pete, the sort of the way you feel about the 2. I'm trying to find someone to beat WNL. I just don't believe in that horse, which I'll talk about here in a second. And I went with this horse. It's not my favorite. Love this horse, but I'm against WNL. I'm a little bit against Litigate because of the visual that I saw. I'm trying to find someone else. This is a very tough race. Now, in terms of WNL, guys, when he broke his maiden, by the way, 2 back, he beat by about 2 3/4 length a horse called Certified Lover Boy. If anyone knows that name, that's a horse I have partial ownership to. So, in a way, I hope this horse runs well because it'll keep flattering the form of my horse. But anyway, who cares about that? This 90 buyer, Paul, just sticks out like a complete sore thumb. He got a perfect trip in the Remsen. He ran well, but Arctic Arrogance to me is nothing special. I'm actually very against Arctic Arrogance on Saturday in the Gotham. It's the Gotham, right, on Saturday?
Withers, right? The Withers.
The Withers. Sorry, the Withers on Saturday. What do you do with this horse, Paul? The 9 to 5, again, to me is completely ridiculous. I guess people are going to see the 90 and just think this is a monster, Paul. Is that what people are going to think?
Yeah, the 2 wins out of 3 and the 90, but I kind of agree. I touched on it when we talked about when I talked about Litigate. Considering how this horse ran in the Remsen, wouldn't it have been logical to send him to the Withers, which was supposed to be last week, by the way. It was frozen out and moved into this week. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. The other thing, Howard, is the track condition. This horse could be really, really good, but all we know so far is he's really, really good on a sloppy track.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the debut race, you excuse a debut race, but that's his only race on fast dirt.
Yeah,
so,
but he did get a 70, which is not too bad, and lost to Instant Coffee. He was a nice horse. So I'm not ready to say, Paul, he can't run on fast dirt.
I'm not either. I'm just saying that if he's the favorite, I think this is the type of favorite you're supposed to try to beat.
I agree. And also, Paul, you mentioned that I'll have to read some information about where he's supposed to go, but he was in Florida and training down there, so maybe they just meant to run him down there anyway. I would assume, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, you certainly have more options, right? You could
Right.
go to this race. You could have gone to the Holy Bull last week. You can go to the Fountain of Youth. You can go to the Tampa Derby, and the weather's a lot better than it is at Belmont Park, where he would be stabled if he was running in New York.
Well,
there's some love on the chat.
The Holy Bull winner was in that race too. Rocket Can. That race actually came back. That debut actually came back as a pretty strong maiden special weight. Sorry,
I think Matt Miller makes a good point. The 7's is either another single or an easy toss. I have no problem with either one. Well, actually, I do. I would never single this horse ever. There's a lot of love for Classic Car Wash, guys. I watched both of his races, the last 2 races. I'll tell you what, he's got some talent. I know he's a Florida bred, by the way, by Noble Bird, not exactly monster sire. I don't know if he can win, guys, but this is another Cassie. He looks like 2 turns is no problem. I don't know. You could do worse 20-1s in this horse, can't you?
I had a note in mind that the dam side was 26% wins in dirt routes. So
wow.
It was none of them were really. I sort of looked through them, and none of them were really
the
high
zero
level.
buyers must be what is the key here for this day.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, that was amazing. Yeah, when you look at that, but none of them. There was no like high level horses or anything. It was just sort of consistently lower level, but still, it shows an affinity for running a distance. So I'll take that where you can get it. No, I thought this is a solid horse. I just think those last 2 are tough to gauge because I didn't think he beat much. So sort of the notes I had were he didn't really beat much. And then that last one, he just got on the lead and he set super slow fractions on the synthetic. In this race, honestly, if anyone won, it wouldn't necessarily shock me. I would just have to see it to put money on this one. But if you said you were going to put it underneath or, in a try or as a seahorse, I have no argument against it.
I've got him as a B right now. This is a very tough race, guys, and I think some weird shit might happen in this race.
And now Nick Feldman in the chat brings up some points about Maker running this turf horse, the one, and how he's done this move before with a long shot and hit the board. So there's another X factor. The one who's raced on nothing but turf. But
there it is.
You got to remember.
You want to feel free to read the comment there by Nick?
Yeah, he said either the last or 2 years ago, Maker had a turf to dirt in this race. Huge odds that ran in the top half. Okay. The Worthington horse on the rail is turf to dirt. The only thing I would say, you got to be very wary here. There is this thing called DFS. It's called Derby Fever Syndrome. And people, if they have a 3-year-old that can stand up and run pretty well from the stable to the feed tub, there is a temptation to let's at least put our foot in the water to see if he maybe, and that's not, by the way, if I had a 3-year-old who could do that, I'd be thinking the same way. So, that might be the case with this Worthington because, it is an odd move for Maker, right? He's more likely to go dirt to turf than turf to dirt. But, he's a 3-year-old. He puts up a low 80s buyer on turf. He figures maybe he puts up a mid 80s here. And you know what? He gives us reason to keep going on the trail. And if not, we go back on turf and run him in 3-year-old turf races for a while. So,
Paul, sorry, again.
I was going to say that's I think the thinking there, Pete.
I have this one as sort of a BC myself. It was close. Then a couple quick stats I had. So Classic Empire, 21% wins in dirt routes, which is awesome. And also multiple graded stakes, runners and winners. But then there was a couple negatives. I had Maker 0 for 15 turf to dirt in graded stakes. So that scared me off a bit. And then the rail right now is 0 for 20 at this meet. So that combination of those 2 things, at least those sort of threw me off a little bit.
Wait, the rail going 2 turns is 0 for 20 at Tampa?
I mean, I just looked up in here at the post positions for this. I mean, I just did winning post by position. And so I didn't do any sort of in-depth look at it. Wow. But if you look at
not a big sample size, but I'm still a little surprised anyway.
I mean, there's been 20 races, 0%. And then everything. Okay. I mean, you had a better shot in the outside post, but then the highest at this distance, I mean, it's weird, but the highest one only went 9 posts out, so you don't have anything for the outside horses. But so those few things scared me off. But I thought this one had a shot too. Again, you're taking a shot with a 20-1er. Why not?
If the track comes up wet, I'm using this horse. If it's dry, I'm not. That's how I'm, because turf horses can take to slop or wet tracks. That's how I view it, guys. Let's go on the last race. Now, we're not going to talk about the last race a lot because we don't know what's going to happen. Now, we'd all like it to be on turf. It's scheduled for turf. There's a lot of turf horses in here. We're going to give you, though, dirt and turf horse picks, everyone out there, because I feel like for the payout leg, guys, it's really imperative that we be doing injustice to the viewers and listeners at home if we didn't talk about our dirt picks at all. Now, of course, we don't know who would be in the race if it was switched to dirt, but I think we would have a pretty good idea, guys. So let's go ahead to the last race. The last race is meant for turf as of now, of course. It's a maiden special weight, a mile and 16th, purse is 27K. It's for the 3-year-old girls. Now, the money line favorite is the number 5, Financial Advice. Of course, with that name, you know it's going to be Chad Brown and Klarovich and Jose Ortiz at 3-1. And there is one also eligible, the number 13, Dazzling the Moon, who looks impossible on paper based on connections and workouts and everything else. On the bottom of the screen, guys, let me bring us back full screen. On the bottom of the screen, everyone, the first 3 picks that you see are our turf picks. Again, our turf picks. In parentheses, you see our dirt picks. Again, of course, we're guessing. We don't know exactly who'd be in the race.
Hey, Paul, we have exactly the same 3 in both instances, Paul. That's amazing. In this race, because this race is kind of wide open. That's kind of crazy.
You guys do a different order. Yeah. That's interesting.
There's a term for that. I think it's great minds. What's the rest of it? What's the rest of it? Oh, think alike.
Something. Yes, that's
something
right.
Like that.
That's right. That's
right. Let's talk about your top pick. I'm just switching over here. Let me go to here. Paul, we're going to go to you first here. You've got a guy that does pretty darn well with first-time starters on the turf, and amazingly, somehow, this guy wins at prices too. And I'm having a little bit of issue. It's a Cologne horse. You're going with the number 3 French bred. Let me get it up. There we go. I think it's pronounced Cirilla. This is a horse by Kingman out of a Royal Applause mare. So a ton of turf breeding here, but sort of slow works right now.
Yeah, but yeah, again, there's this horse in the 2 Chad Brown firsters you have to look at as far as first timers. The breeding is just, between Kingman, the dam already has 4 turf winners, an Irish sire, of the sire, an Irish dam, and an English dam sire. And as you said, Howard, Christoph and Miguel certainly can have them ready to go. The fact that this horse is going to Tampa, Chad Brown does it a lot, as you can see in this race. A lot of guys ship to Tampa to break them in, especially on turf. It is known as a very good turf course. So, it's just a question of is he cranked up? Maybe do we have to go back and listen to the Adelphi podcast and see if Miguel referred to this one?
I would recommend. By the way, Paul, I'm having trouble remembering some of the babies of the dam. Oh, that's right, because one of them is called Amnesia. It's on the screen, Paul. There you go. Paul didn't catch it, Pete. I was waiting for him to whatever.
Right. I was. Yeah,
that didn't work out very well.
I was ready to duck off the screen when I saw where you were going with that. So I'm good.
I'm trying to concentrate on the information. I concentrate on the information I put forth to our viewers.
Yeah, Stephen Rocco, by the way, is a pretty dedicated owner of horses by Clement. So, yeah, she's got slow works. She might need one as her first start, Paul. That's all I'm going to say. She might need one.
Yeah.
You also don't concern yourself as much with slower works if you're routing on turf in your first start.
True.
If this was a dirt sprint, and the works looked like that, then I'd probably toss this horse. But
yeah,
I think we might be okay there.
Paul, you've got the Klarovich horse second. So does Paul. So does Pete. I have this horse on top. Another bred. Wooten Bassett, by the way, is not the most well-known sire, but he has sired a lot of good horses. Not necessarily long distance, more like medium distance, I believe. Listen, this horse has a real nice work. That pace and work is not visible, so I didn't see it. You've got to believe this horse is very live. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't be. She wouldn't be. There we go. Have a drink. Paul, right? The 5's got to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, but, and this plays right into Nick Feldman's theory of how this could be very low paying or very high paying, because this is a tough leg. Now, if they wanted to do us a favor, they could have made this the first race in the sequence instead of the last. Although I think we pretty much know that the Chads and Clement are going to take money, so maybe that wouldn't have been that much of a advantage. It would have been an advantage if there was like a 12-1 shot morning line who was 5-1. If people were betting into the teeth of the two Chads and Clement. But I find in races like this, Howard, a lot of times a horse who has run before wins, and you say, geez, for Christ's sake, you relied on nothing but first-time starters and anything can happen. So I don't know. I think either you go very narrow, as Nick is signaling the 5, or I'm going to try to spread a little bit on my caveman.
Hey, I have one crazy stat which won't really help because you assume this horse is going to hit the board. But Chad Brown, 83%, 30 for 36 in the money in maiden special weights with first-time starters in going turf routes at Tampa. So I mean, that's just 30 out of 36 hitting the board. So this horse, if nothing else, is probably hitting the board, but you figure that at 3-1 anyway. So that doesn't really help wagering wise. But I just thought it was interesting.
Well, Paul, we talked with Chad, and again, we had the pleasure of talking to Chad Brown too. And if you've been paying attention, he's been running his better maidens actually at Tampa over the last few years because he's not been enamored with the turf course at Gulfstream. But he is running more horses at Gulfstream this year as their turf course is definitely better. The number 6, Pete, as we start wrapping up our picks here and move on with the end of the show. The number 6, Juniper's Moon, ran a big race first time out on turf. Did nothing 3 weeks later on dirt. And interesting enough, we all have this horse in the mix anyway if it's on dirt. I'm guessing all you guys feel that way because of the workouts. At least that's what I feel. This horse has been working great on dirt. I think either way, Pete, this horse is live. I'll show his I'll show her, debut where she lost to a Chad Brown. But I thought she was really impressive with a 67 buyer.
Yeah, that was sort of the thing that got me. If you'll see it here, but I'll give it a second until you get it up. But she was,
she's the 4.
I mean, she was 20, and she was 28-1, which is crazy. But so you see the 4.
She's all the way in the back.
She's steadied a little bit there. Yeah, she's steadied there.
She's a little headstrong. No big deal.
She's very rank.
Rank in the back, and then just sort of.
Look at this move.
Makes a sweeping move, which again, we talked about where when it's your first race, you're going a mile and a 16th, you're making a move like that from dead last after steadying. Maybe you're going to be a little short. And plus, that's a Chad Klarovich horse that she's chasing. So it's not like she's chasing chopped liver there, but she's cutting into this. And even there, that other horse came out a little bit.
Yeah.
You never know if that's going to slow the stride down, but she was making up ground on a half decent horse and had all kinds of trip trouble and was way wide. And if she can come back to that, and then the next one, if she just ran badly, she was eased and then has been off for a few months. So the assumption has to be maybe that a little something went wrong there.
Yeah.
But you like the fact that she came out. You see that 47-2 work, 2 back, followed up with the 48-3. So she seems to be coming in strong. $725K purchase. So for me, this one, I mean, again, this is one where I don't. First-time starters, you never know. So it's not like the Chad is a lock here or the Clement is a lock. So if this one, I mean, when I saw the odds, again, 5-1, I was like, I would have liked a little bit more, maybe off that last one being a clunker. But, you take what you can get.
I probably should have put this horse on top if it's on dirt. I think the one is interesting if it's on dirt. Little Miss Moonlight, who ran a nice race against a Chad Brown big favorite, Modern Love. It's her second start. This is a City of Light filly out of a Malibu Moon mare. So I think she'll improve the number 1 with that aggressive jockey.
I like that they meant to put that one on the turf the first time too. So it's not just like it's a whim. Let's put this one on the turf. They tried the first time. Sorry to interrupt you there, Howard.
Well, I like her a lot more on dirt actually, but your point is taken. I don't actually have her anywhere in the turf races. Paul, again, we're doing a lot of guessing here. I don't know how much longer we want to go on in this race, but there are some horses that are interesting. I know someone mentioned the outside horse, number 12, the Girl from Ireland. This is a bad post, but of all the horses that have run, this is clearly the best horse in my opinion Actually, sorry, the 6 is also good, but this is one of the 2 best horses that have run, in my opinion. I've got this horse in third, Paul, if it's on the turf. You don't have her anywhere, neither does Pete. I'm guessing you're just assuming that it's a post situation, or I don't know, for others.
It's not ideal. They come out of that chute and have to make the immediate hard left-hand turn. But it's great. It's great emotion, and it's a turf route. So I got no issue with anyone. In fact, I will use that horse in my ABC grid.
I actually thought that one. I think that one. My thought and my note was that I thought that one might want to go shorter, based on the breeding and based on even watching the races, because she sort of makes her move and she gets into contention and then she dies out at the end. So I'm wondering if she just can't handle the little extra distance, and maybe if they cut her back, she might be better.
We've got again. I want to make sure we hit the new viewers. Rob N. Rob, I'm not sure you've joined the show before. So Rob, thanks for joining the show. Just mentioned the 2 is bred to run 1.5 miles, but has only run short on dirt with Saez. So 12-1. That's a horse that they tried to get on turf, but it was on dirt last time for Tom Albatrani. So listen, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways you can go. And breaking news, everyone, from Jimmy Tuez. Chad is live with the first start in the last race. Jimmy, I don't mean to be giving you crap, but that horse is going to be very live. Guys, as we go ahead and wrap up the show here with our picks, this is a fascinating. I'm curious to see what everyone has their pick 5 tickets, because there are a lot of ways you can go. Pete, we're going to have you go first. Again, on this show, for you old viewers and new viewers, we give $100 or less caveman, just straight tickets. But Pete and Paul, if you could just talk about what you're thinking about doing personally, other than what's on the screen, because I know we're all probably doing things a little bit different than what we're presenting out to the viewers. And I think this particular sequence, we really do need to talk about betting structure, because I think it's fascinating on Saturday. Pete, your pick 5 is 2-5 with 3-5 with 1-9 with 2-7 10-11 with 1-3-5 6-8-10. It's a $96 ticket, and shout out to Pete Visco, Paul, giving out a $90 ticket last week on the Power Picks for over $2,000, over $2,000. So Pete, great job, man. Let's do it again. I don't know if we're going to get a $2,000 ticket this Saturday, but it could be. Who knows? Talk about your ticket on the bottom of the screen, Pete, and then what you might alter based on your gut feeling and the sequence itself.
Yeah, you're perfectly right there, because I wouldn't most likely play this ticket at $96 because of the chance, especially for 50 cents, because of the chance of the favorites coming in. So I would probably shorten. Although when I'm looking at it in the first leg, I mean, I could see singling Caramel Swirl, but I kind of like that too. So I think I would go maybe too deep there, because I think if you're going to catch Caramel Swirl, this might be the time to do it. In the second leg, I have the first 2 chalk, so that's not the best idea. Generally, you would want to pick one of them just for caveman purposes. I like the top 2, so I wasn't sure which one I would go with. I probably would go with Willie Boy, which maybe then you get a little bit more of a price. In the third leg, again, you have Wonder Wheel and Julia Shining. Not the best ticket construction to put both of them on your top line, unless maybe you're doing like a $20 and you're going super skinny and you're doing a $20 pick 5 and you're trying to single or go too deep only. I like Julia Shining, but it's hard to split those 2. So I left them on here for the purposes of the show, but Julia Shining would be my top choice. And then in the fourth leg, I actually at first was about 6 or 7 deep, and obviously that was a little too expensive, but I just don't have enough faith in any of the horses. So I picked the 2, but I don't think that I have not a super strong opinion on the 2. I don't love the favorite. I think the favorite can easily win. So I just went a little deeper there. And then in the last one, again, if it's not the Chad, then if it's not the 5, then I think it's wide open. And I think you could catch, and this is where maybe you catch the price if you could beat the Chad. I went 6 deep, but again, if you're going to go short with the Chad and you're going to go short in the other legs, then yeah, do that as your A line, bang that for a very high denomination. And then you could back it up and then hope if you can get 2 of those favorites beat, then you could maybe look for a better payout.
I think it's, like I said, there are a lot of different ways to go in this. I think your strategy is excellent there. Paul, let's go with your pick 5. Paul's pick 5, he's not messing around. He's like, just give me Caramel Swirl and move on. He's going 5 with 13510, with 189, with 27911, with 35610, $96, Paul.
Yeah, and as mentioned, I would not. This is not the sequence I would play a $96 caveman, but that's the budget that Uncle Cheapo gives us, so we want to use as much
You
of
could
it
have
as
done
we
a $10 ticket 10 times. That would have been fine too.
I might, Howard. I think the way I'm going to play this, Howard, and I'm glad you brought up the ticket structure. I think I'm going to play a hybrid, and what I mean is, I think the 5 in the first 2 legs are very likely winners. So I will probably play.
Sorry. My bad. I'm so excited. People have thank you, Racing Down. When we finally, sorry, Paul, we finally have people showing some guts out there. Put your Pick 5 ticket in the chat. I promise I will show it to you. Racing Downwind will get back to your ticket. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I will probably play a ticket with both of them winning singly, probably, and then say not having Wonder Wheel, for example, not having W Nell, those other 2 favorites, and then try to get prices there, and then probably 2 other tickets with one of them winning on each of them, right? And then maybe modifying what I do in those other legs. That's how on Thursday night. That's how I think I may go about it, as opposed to a straight ABC. But we'll see what comes on Saturday.
Okay. Before I show my Racing Downwind is going 1-2-5-8 with 3-5. Racing Downwind is singling Wonder Wheel and then going very deep in the last 2. I get it. All right, guys, here we go. It's about that time for my ticket. And Chris alone, I'll show you your ticket here in just a second. Guys, am I singling anyone? And if I am, who shall it be?
I agree with Noah that it's going to be Wonder Wheel because of the pace advantage.
No, I think it's at 7. He wants to be clever.
Oh, the uphold the law. Interesting. Let's see. Where's Noah? Noah thinks that Mr. Kravitz. Thank you for the unnecessary Noah, but he's a college student at UK, I believe, right, guys? So we can appreciate the respect there, Noah. Noah, if you were to take a test in my class tomorrow, you know what grade that Noah would get? He would get an A. Nice job, Noah. Exactly right. I am sealing Wonder Wheel. Again, not the ticket I would normally play, though, on Saturday, but I'm going 2-8. And that's right, Paul. That's not a typo. You saw that correctly. 2-8 with 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, with 1, with 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, with 5, 6, 12. Here's my thought, guys. Where's Caramel Swirl? Nowhere. Out. Bam. Drop. Boom. Out. Drop the mic. Listen, you either single Caramel Swirl to me or you toss. So what I'm going to present out there is tossing. Obviously she can win. Obviously she's the best horse in the race. What I might do, guys, is play a smaller ticket than this. A press-up smaller ticket without Caramel Swirl. And then if Caramel Swirl wins the first leg, I'll just play the pick 4. Or I might even play the pick 3, guys, and skip the last race. That's my other thought, because the last race is, if it's off the turf especially, I don't know. So that's my thought right now. Anyway, Wonder Wheel doesn't have to win, but, guys, I just don't love the field. She's got to be a turf horse, and Julia Shining, who's got to improve 10 points and is still acting a little bit weird. Maybe she's going to put it all together. I don't know. I'm going very deep in the Sam F. Davis, guys. I have no idea. I'm going to sit here and tell you, I don't feel good about anyone in that race. And then I'm going 5, 6, 12. Not using the Clement 3. I think she might need a race. That's my opinion there in that leg. I'm sure the Chad could be a single, but I don't know. I mean, the Chad doesn't have to win that last race. So that's what I'm going with, guys. As we wrap up the show here, as we're getting up on an hour and a half, I said I'd show some things on the screen, which I will. Guys, I wrap up the show. Any quick thoughts as I show some picks as we randomly talk here at the end? Either one of you guys, thoughts on the pick 5, or you got a thought in the big race in New York, the Withers, or anything else going on?
Well, I'm rooting for Linda Rice with her Arctic Arrogance. I'd love to see her get a horse to the Derby. She's does a great job day in and day out. She won the training title at Saratoga one year, as you pointed out a few weeks ago. Howard, she's a terrific horsewoman. I think it's a good sequence you picked to handicap. I like Tampa. I think things with last week with the Holy Bull, the road to the Derby, they are on the road to the Derby. And, it's interesting how, you and I are all over our guy, Trapper Trice, and he's down to 20-1 in the pool that opens tomorrow, but he has no Derby points, So in the old days, we could have said, okay, he'll get enough earnings, right? He'll run a second here, a third there, maybe a win and put the earnings together, and he's in the top 20. No, we got to get him in the gate, Uncle Howie. But you know what? We're going to get him in the gate. We are going to get him in the gate. This guy is good.
If people didn't watch our show last week, Paul and I both have future bets on Tapit Trice. There's a long. It might be Tapit Treese, by the way, because he's out of Dan's Treese. Nick Tamro mentioned that. I don't call the source anything you want, Pete. I just want to call the source in the starting game.
As long as it's called at the wire, right? As long as it's called at the wire, yeah.
Absolutely. Final thoughts, Pete, and we'll wrap up the show. Anything you got?
No, I'm good with everything Paul said. The only thing I'll mention is the El Camino Real Derby also has some Derby points, not as much, but it's out there and it's a 8-horse field. So if you want to take a look at that one, I haven't looked at either that or the Withers in terms of handicapping yet, so I don't really have an opinion just yet.
Hit Show in the Withers. Hit Show I love Hit Show. I know he's the favorite.
Yeah, I'm with you of being against. I'm not an Arctic Arrogance person at all.
There's too much speed.
I don't like that horse in any races that I've seen so far.
For yearly subscribers, Pete and Paul, I've been giving them a video as part of the deal for being an extra video. I'll be talking about the Withers on my extra video. I hate Arctic Arrogance in that race. There's other speed. The one we're talking about in the Withers, don't like it all. Pete Risco, Paul Halloran, awesome job as usual. Fly Eagles fly for Paul. I actually like the Chiefs. Pete, who are you going with?
Eagles.
Pete's going with the Eagles. Also, I'm going to go Chiefs in a slight upset. Hope everyone enjoys the Super Bowl, but most importantly, I hope everyone enjoys our show tonight and you crush all those bets at Tampa Bay Downs this Saturday for the Sam F. Davis and other great stakes. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.